Hey everybody, welcome back to the 80s Slashers YouTube channel. In this video, we will be kicking off a new series on this channel titled The Top 80 Slashers of the 80s. And yeah, in this video, we will be taking a look at numbers 80 through 71. Now, in a previous video, I went over my 10 worst 80s slashers of all time, in my opinion. And in that video, most of the films that were discussed were ones that I didn't really like that much. The films that we're going to talk about in this video, however, I actually do kind of like them. Well, I like at least certain parts of them. I wouldn't say that any of these films are standouts within the genre, but they all have at least some elements that I can find at least some enjoyment from. So yeah, like I said, we're starting at at the bottom at number 80 here, and I'm right out of the gun saying I like at least 80 slashers. So I'm obviously somebody who enjoys these films. I'm gonna like a lot more than most. So yeah, that's to be expected, after these, so I guess 81 through 90 are ones I have a lot of issues with, and then I think the ones in my top 10 worst video were like around like the 90 to 100, 105 area. So yeah, I guess I like about 80 slashers that I've seen, and there's a bunch I haven't seen yet, so these numbers will differ in a year's time, but yeah. So all right, so with all that being said, I should obviously mention that these are, my rankings, and this entire set of rankings is based off of my own personal likes, tastes, and preferences for, this little subgenre of horror. All right, so yeah, that's about it for a little intro. So let's just get right into it and start off by taking a look at number 80. Alright, so coming in at number 80 from 1985, I have the Nail Gun Massacre. Now, obviously, this is not a good film. This may be argued by some that it's one of the worst made in the entire genre. It's at that level of filmmaking quality. But I'll tell you, it's it's a lot of fun. This is your classic so bad it's good film. It's just there's something about this film that's just so charming and just fun to watch. It's just it's just, I don't know. It's really fun. Now, this film has some pretty great, almost bordering on sleazy nudity, and in some of the kills, there's some pretty fun and inventive kills. And again, some of these kills have that sleazy feel, like, people being killed while they're having sex, while they're naked. And I like that. I like that in these type of films. I prefer, I like the sleaze. So and it's, in terms of the plot and like the ending, it really does attempt to have like a fun twist reveal at the end, and that's more than some of these films you can say for. So yeah, Nail Gun Massacre, again, it's probably for people who are not a fan of horror films, not a fan of slasher films, this is a terrible film for sure. But if you can appreciate this film for what it is, it's a lot of fun to watch. I actually wanted to rank it higher just because I enjoy watching it so much. It's so fun, but I just couldn't do that just based on like the level of the filmmaking quality. So yeah, we're gonna have it here at number 80. All right, let's take a look at number 79. All right, so yeah, so coming at number 79, we have A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, also from 1985. Now, yeah, this is obviously probably the first controversial pick on here, but anyone who has been watching this channel probably already realizes now that, me and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise don't always get along so well. It's just, they're just not for me. They're just not the, they're just, I don't know, something about them. They're just not for me. Simple as that. Parts 4 and 5 were both on my, top 10 worst 80s slashers list. And now we have this one. Now, I'll say this. I actually kind of like this film. It's leaps and bounds ahead of parts 4 through 6. Freddy is still kind of scary in this film. He is. He's still the mean and scary Freddy, which is the best Freddy. Before he becomes a caricature, like a comic. Just I don't know what he becomes, but in this film he's still scary. And this film has some really nice set pieces. Like the opening scene and in the bus is fantastic. Near the ending, the pool sequence is really good. There's some funny, weird, nightclub or like S&M bars. Like it's there's some good, memorable scenes in this. But this is a weird nightmare film. There's I don't have a problem with it, but it stands out like some of the strange, like overly overt sexual themes in this film. And I won't get into it, but anyone who's familiar with this film knows exactly what I'm talking about. Again, not a problem for me. Like I don't care, but it stands out. It's weird. It's not something you typically see in like a horror film, and especially a Nightmare on Elm Street film, and for that purpose, it's odd. Um, I don't know. It's yeah, very weird. And another thing that is kind of that's always struck me weird about this film is that it kind of breaks a rule within the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, where at the end there, kind of Freddy comes out of the dream world and he starts killing people like in real life. Like he's not like killing people in their dreams, which that's the whole concept. That's the whole appeal of this franchise. From that's the way I take it. Like the first film and every other film, that's what was kind of cool about it. It's a killer you can't escape because he's in your dreams, which is terrifying. That concept. But in this film, he kind of breaks that rule and he's killing people in person. So I don't know, that kind of I don't like that about this film. I don't know, he just kind of Freddy is like a regular slasher killer, but like a weird one. I don't know. It's just this film is weird to me. But like I said, it's still a good film. It has a good feel, good atmosphere, some really fun moments. It's just a weird one. All right, let's take a look at number 78. All right, so coming at number 78 from 1980, we have Christmas Evil. Now this is one of those films that's kind of it's a really good horror film, but not so great of a slasher film. This film, it's really well made. It has obviously it's a Christmas film, and it captures Christmas. It has a really good Christmas feel to it, which is fantastic. And it's just one of those horror films that's kind of like a slow burn, a really good portrait of mental illness. It's that sort of a horror film. And like I said, even though it's a slasher film, and it is a slasher film, the the slasher elements are without a doubt the weakest part of this film. In my opinion, of course. There's too few kills. They're too spaced out, like spaced apart from each other. Not enough blood, not enough violence. It really is uh, like a study of one man's descent into mental illness, and that's what you're watching, and it's really good. I have trouble rating this film any higher just because we're talking about slasher films, and that's a weaker element. And it's a shame because this really is a good film, and it's a great one to watch at Christmas time because it does have that great feel. But in terms of actual ranking of a slasher film, it's a little low on my rankings, obviously. So yeah, number 78, Christmas Evil. All right, let's move on to number 77. All right, so coming in at number 77 from 1987, I have Berserker. Now, this is a recent film for me. I reviewed it on the channel a few months back or something like that, and this is a film that kind of had all the makings to be what I consider a great slasher flick. But unfortunately, it just fell short in a few key areas that it just doesn't allow me to rank it much higher than this. It's in terms of the plot and the story, it's fun enough. It's fine. It's nothing elaborate. The setting for this film is fantastic. It's one of those deep woods setting, and it's fantastic. It's a lot of it takes place at nighttime, deep in the woods. There's good use of I guess like smoke machines, like making like fog, like a fog machine or whatever, and it's really atmospheric and creepy. So it's great, fantastic setting. Has some good nudity, some good sex scenes in it, that are filmed really well, like a couple like highlight scenes for sure. Has some good like 80s rock music, which for whatever reason that stands out to me still from watching it. It's just yeah, but unfortunately the kills, one of the most important things you want, were kind of lacking. There was barely any blood, barely any practical effects. It just consisted of people getting scratched to death, with like mauled to death and screaming. Yeah, pretty weak kills, unfortunately. And I'll say that the whole supernatural berserker slash Viking, that whole premise was kind of unnecessary, kind of silly. I wish they would have did this without having to incorporate that into it. But at this time in the 80s, the supernatural slasher, thanks to the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, was the moneymaker. So that's what people were trying to make and trying to incorporate this in. So, I wish they wouldn't have done that. But Berserker is still a pretty fun slasher. I had a good time watching it. Like I said, I liked the film. It flew by. It was one of those films that just like, for whatever reason, it just flew by because I was having a good time. It has a few shortcomings, unfortunately. All right, let's take a look at number 76. All right, so coming in at number 76 from 1981, we have a Madman. Now, this this isn't a bad film. Again, it's one that this is probably the 80s slasher that I was the most disappointed in, um, solely due to having really high expectations going in. Before watching this film, I was reading lists online and YouTube, whatnot, And some people were mentioning this as like their top 10, top 5 80 slashers of all time. So I was like, oh, I was really excited to see it. And it just did not live up to it for me. I just don't see how people can put this in a top 5 or top 10. Um, first off, the film has a great atmosphere. It really does. A lot of those, like the reds and the blue lighting, it looks great. Creepy. It's at like a camp setting, like a children's camp, which I'm a big fan of. It's, obviously one of the more iconic settings for these types of films. And it does have some fun kills. So you can't really knock it for that. But it's that's that's pretty much it. It's kind of, I don't know. It was, I found it just a little boring. Just, I don't know, kind of slow, and just it just wasn't. It didn't seem like a fun um 80s slasher. One set at like a summer camp. You think of like Sleepaway Camp and The Burning and the Friday the 13th. So those films have a sense of fun. This one to me just didn't have that. So it's kind of, I don't know, it just kind of disappointed me. This one's probably deserving of a rewatch. It's been a few years now, so maybe I do need to revisit this one. Um, as a bonus, it has one of the strangest hot tub hot tub sex scenes I've ever seen. Just for that, you should check it out. It's a really bizarre hot tub scene, which is funny. That's the most memorable thing about this film for me, is that weird hot tub scene. All right, let's move on to number 75. All right, so coming to number 75 from 1989, we have Death Spa. Now, I don't think anyone is going to claim that this is a good film, because it's not. It's your typical late 80s uh, slasher film. But this is another one that is just really fun. And it's mainly due just to the over the top 80s cheese that's throughout this film. When I think of, you know, like the cliche 80s, like the women with the big hair and the neon colors, and like the like the valley girl talk, like slang and whatnot. This is that's what this film captures. It's just so 80s. It's set in that perfect time, and it's fantastic. I just love it for that. Uh, and then of course the setting is in like a gym, like an exercise workout gym, and it's fantastic. There's so many great places for kills to happen. You got like the sauna room and the locker room and like the exercise, like the weight room, and there's like a tanning bed and showers. It's great. It's fantastic. So many places to set up, stalking, hunting scenes, people getting killed with different weapons, and yeah, it's good. And this film does have some really fun kills. Has a ton of nudity. This film literally has it all. The big downfall for me, and this is broken record, I guess, but it's the silly supernatural premise that it has. If only they would have went with like a more straightforward killer, um, stalking the victims in this gym. It would have been so good, but they really played up the supernatural elements in this film, which is fine. It's not. There's worse supernatural slashers. Um, but yeah, I just wish it would have had more of a straightforward killer. But it's fun. It's good. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Like I said, just for like the 80s cheese, it's great fun. So yeah, it's number 75, Death Spa. All right, let's move on. Take a look at number 74. All right, so coming to number 74, from 1988, we have Rush Week. Um, Now this is another late 80s, kind of a cheese fest again. Like, it's not as cheesy as Death Spa, but there's definitely still some late 80s cheese in here. Now this is an interesting one. I just reviewed this one again like a few weeks, month or so back. Um, but this film is kind of broken up. It's like one part 80s slasher. It's like one part Animal House, teen comedy style of film, and then there's like one part like Nancy Drew mystery. It's definitely a unique film with these these three different mixes of like film genres. It's definitely interesting. I really I like it for that. Um, Now again, this the setting for this film is it's like a university campus, and it's the whole film is basically on the university campus. You never leave. It's very immersive, which is great. There's tons of nudity in this film, tons of sex scenes, all kinds of stuff. So that's present for sure. The kills are all right. They're not great. There is a couple highlight kills for sure. There's a pretty cool decapitation, which is done really well with practical effects. So there is some highlights in here, but the kills are just all right. Not a standout. The killer looks cool. Killer looks really good with that creepy white mask and the hood and the big like executioner's axe as a weapon. Yeah, good villain for sure. The big issue I had with this film is just how predictable it is. It almost ruined the experience. Not because I knew who the killer was. Almost like literally 5 minutes into the film, I had figured out like how this entire plot was gonna go, and that might be on me for watching so many of these films and knowing by this point in 1988 that where they're going with the story. Um, but yeah, it's not that it was that I was able to guess it. That's fine. But what it was the filmmakers played it up as if like we had no clue that they had really tricked us at the end of the film. Like they had like a aha moment with us. They played that up, and they really thought that they got us. And I was laughing. I'm like, I could see what they were trying to do, like the misdirection and everything. And it just kind of made it comical. It really took me out of it. Just some of the bits that they were trying to use to not see through their plot. And yeah, it kind of, like I said, it kind of ruined the experience a little bit for me. But other than that, it's a good film. It's definitely there's lots going for it. So yeah, Rush Week was good. I enjoyed it. All right, let's take a look at number 73. All right, so coming to number 73 from 1980, uh, we have He Knows You're Alone. Now this is an early 80s slasher. This is yeah, it was made just after Friday the 13th, but it was filmed, before Friday the 13th was released. So there's no inspiration in terms of that type of formula. This film is heavily influenced by John Carpenter's Halloween. And again, this is a decent film. It's a good film. It has some pretty good kills. There's a really cool decapitation. Um, there's like a fish tank involved. It's a really good scene. Yeah, the kills are pretty good. There's some pretty good chase sequences. Some pretty decent tension. But other than that, like it's just kind of nothing else is too memorable or exciting. Besides that one fish tank scene, which was pretty cool. It's just I don't know. It just came off as just a little dry. Like I said, it wasn't really. It wasn't taking advantage of the Friday the 13th formula that like all these later films would use, and like the fun factor. This was kind of like a weird in between. Um, but it was like I said, a good film, good performances. The story works pretty well. It's an enjoyable story. Well-made film. The obvious Halloween ripoffs are really fun to watch now, knowing what we know about Halloween. Like some of them are just obvious. Some of the musical cues, just some of like the stalking sequences, how like, Michael Myers would stand behind like a hedge. There's a couple of scenes like almost exactly like that. And it's fun to watch now. Of course, this film has the debut film debut of a young Tom Hanks, so that's always like a fun treat, and you can tell he's a good actor. He's better actor than everyone else on camera, so that's nice to see. But yeah, this is, like I said, a nice solid film, just nothing that stands out, but it's definitely a good one. You should definitely check it out. All right, let's move on to number 72. All right, so coming to number 72 from 1983, we have The Final Terror. Now, the star of the show in this film is the setting. This is another one of those deep wood slashers, and I don't know. I guess I'm just a sucker for that. It's a great location, because like the forest itself is kind of an enemy, because the forest could kill you. You could fall off a cliff, you could break an ankle and get eaten by a bear. There's lots of fear in the deep woods at night. And then you couple that with, some crazy person trying to hunt you and kill you as well. It just makes for a really good setting. This is it's a dark film. There's a lot of dark moments, which is one of the issues I had with it. It's not a big deal, but it is. I like, they should be filmed a little, I don't know, a little better so you can see a little bit more of what's going on. But again, not an issue, just a little dark, something to point out. But yeah, The Final Terror, it's pretty enjoyable. There's some decent kills, some really fun, inventive kills using the forest and whatnot. Logs and stuff. So it's kind of unique in that way. It has its unique kills, which is always appreciated. The twist reveal at the end is maybe a bit silly, but it works just fine. Um, Again, there's nothing too exciting or great about this film, with the exception of the setting, which is stellar, which is why I have it here, I guess. You know, if there would have been a little more in like the kills and the nudity and all that stuff in the story and whatnot, it would have been a little higher just because of the great setting. But um, yeah, it's still a fun slasher, and yeah, fantastic setting. All right, let's take a look at the last one. This list, number 71. All right. So coming at number 71, we have from 1980 Schizoid. Now, this is again another obviously really early 80s slasher that is clearly inspired by the Italian giallos. Um, this is an American giallo. It's what it is, and it's fantastic. They bring in Klaus Kinski, to really bring that flavor, that European feel. And this film has some fantastic of that European sleaze factor. It has some of the sex scenes are really creepy and sleazy. Some of the kills, people getting killed while they're naked, or it has that, yeah, that European sleaziness, which is fantastic. There's a lot of that typical giallo elements. See a lot of like the POV from the killer's perspective. Killer is has like the hat, like the brimmed hat, like the black leather gloves. A lot of like I said, a lot of the kills, some of them are like sex related. And then of course like the big, like they just that giallo style of the big reveal at the end. Um, yeah, it's great, and it pretty much all of it pretty much works. With Klaus Kinski being in there, you would think that this isn't an American film, but it isn't. It is an American film. It feels like it's not, which is why I kind of like it. Yeah, yeah. Schizoid is I think it's really underrated. It's just a really enjoyable American giallo type of film, and I would have ranked it higher, but I don't know. It's maybe because it is that giallo. I just I'm more partial to the generic 80s slasher formula, I guess. But Schizoid's fun. It's definitely a good one. Yeah, all right, everybody. So that's it. That's a look at number 80 through 71 on the top 80 slashers of the 80s. So yeah, stay tuned. Up next, obviously, we're going to look at number 70 through 61. So stay tuned, look forward to that, and yeah, until next time. All right, see ya.